For this episode, I talk with spiritual investor Elizabeth Ralph. Elizabeth started off trading big contracts in utilities and energy and has moved on to become a wealth manager. But not somebody who just says, look, let's take a look at low risk, mid risk and high risk. She will look at the person, kind of the whole person, holistically, if you will, in terms of their history with money, their history with investments, and will do work with them to enable them to kind of position themselves in a way that enables them to take opportunities when they come around. It's a kind of finding a sort of a way of aligning yourself with your feelings and your interests and passions with the opportunity in the markets. I found it an interesting conversation. So here we go, Elizabeth Ralph. Elizabeth, how are you doing?
Great.
Yeah, and where are you right now?
I'm in the United States in Tennessee.
Tennessee. Yeah, so 6 hours behind London, right?
6 hours, yes,
Yeah, it's a
absolutely. I've spent most of my life in California, but family is here. So I recently decided, my life kind of like it took a big turn, and I thought, okay, well, here's the opportunity.
yeah. Well, that's what we're going to talk about, the big turn.
Yeah.
You started off in a kind of financial institution. You went through a more traditional route compared to a lot of people I talk to on this podcast.
Yeah.
You've gone, into wealth management of a kind.
hmm
Talk to me how you got started with that and then progressed to what you're doing now, which is more about wealth management, helping people manage their wealth, teaching them about that, and how trading is a part of that.
hmm Well, it's kind of all of these decisions that I've made have definitely been connected to kind of knowing myself. When I was in my 30s, I knew that I needed the structure to be in a corporate environment. I also really craved the learning, and I just kept, honestly, I just kept stepping into really great opportunities with regards to, moving around within the company and making more money. And I loved the people I worked with. So I just knew that, in my 30s, I was supposed to be there. It was as an energy trading floor. And so, we were trading, oil, natural gas, electricity. And it was a great position. It also allowed me to, invest on my own. I invested quite a bit in stocks, long term. And then I invested in real estate. So what I was able to do is buy my way out of it, which was always the plan. Actually, even when I loved the job, it was always the plan because I've always been a big believer in just creating freedom and optionality. And so I don't ever want to be not creating freedom and optionality in my life. That's kind of the standard that I set. So my goal was to retire by the time I turned 40. I did at 39, and I was able to, when I say retire, I'm not talking about like flying private jets. I'm talking about cover my basic cost of living. No, I'm not going to be like an old person thrown out on the street. Like, what I decided, I was like, what is financial freedom to me is whatever makes me feel at ease with money so that I'm not waking up in the middle of the night kind of thing. And that's what I ended up doing. I didn't really have the intention to teach people money or to even continue on with the whole money journey until I was at a kid's birthday party, and then someone said, "Can you help me with my money?" And I said, "No, I don't do that." And by the end of the party, she convinced me. So I remember sitting in front of her house, and I remember thinking to myself, "Okay, if I'm going to do this, I have to do it my way. Like I can't just go in and just peanut butter smear all the financial principles and the 60/40 portfolio and all of that stuff. I knew it wasn't going to be pizzazzy enough, if you will, to keep me interested, and it would be a short-term plan, and I'm not really into short-term plans. I value my energetic currency. And so I went in, I knocked on the door, she opened the door, and I said, "We're going to begin this with a meditation." And she was like, "Okay, great." And they ended up buying their dream home, second home in Big Bear, California, and they sent me a letter with pictures, and they said, "You changed my life." And I was like, well, I guess this is it. Here's my next plan. So here I am 7 years later, having run the Spiritual Investor Program for 7 years, connected with thousands of entrepreneurs and people who are really looking to find a path to effortless money, meaning doing something that they really love, but not waking up in the middle of the night or feeling like they have to work harder and not feeling like they're giving themselves away.
So how do you get that? How do you achieve that balance for your clients?
It's sort of a combination. You really have to figure out, where are people coming in. Like, everyone is really different, and I think that that's part of the frustration that people feel out there, is because they're on social, they're listening to a podcast, something, and they're like, does this really relate to me? So the way that I've set it up is, it's kind of a, looking at yourself, going, what is it that I'm avoiding? What is it that I really want to do? Some people are avoiding money management. Some people just say they feel horrible when they check their accounts and they just don't want to do it. Okay, that's where you need to start, right? Because that's the low hanging fruit. You can really clear that up, right? Your life is already telling you, and really, I'll say your body, the emotions within your body are telling you where the starting point is. My only job is to create a net where you can come into. And the Spiritual Investor Program is, we work on the energy of money, we work on money management, we work on investing. It's kind of three things. Some people want to jump right into investing, and we teach long-term investing, not the day trading. Um, and yeah, getting people started. I would assume it's kind of like, some of the listeners have experienced, whereby, like, you start to get a momentum going, and then you get the confidence and you kind of get the direction from there. Once someone has a momentum and they have a fundamental understanding, then they don't really need me anymore. They don't really, it's just really bridging the gap here.
Okay, you talk about the energy of money. What does that really mean?
Well, I think we live in a new paradigm. We live in a whole new money world. I mean, the things that we can do right now, the access that we have to money and opportunities, is not anything like it was with our parents' generation. Yet what we do is, we're trying to uh, excel in this world, yet we're bringing in our old conditioning and our old rules that our parents taught us. Like, we always hear, like, our dad in our head or our mom in our head, someone, right? And so, really, the energy of money would be pulling from, what is that desire and that feeling that you want to create, and then teaching you how to create that and utilize that and pull that down into the world in a sort of, I'll call it, a 3D, real world, tangible way. Right. So, an example of this, because I don't want to be too, like, esoteric here, an example would be, um, most women are afraid of investing. This is a general statement in my experience. Most women come in afraid of investing. Most men come in the program uh, way too oriented on results. So you've got both sides of it. So what I'm doing is, I'm not changing. I'm not saying anybody is wrong, but your leverage factor is to meet in the middle somewhere, because that middle is also where you meet who you are. And if you can meet who you are with regards to money, then what you're doing is, the conditioning will never be present anymore. In other words, like, when we are truly within ourselves, all of that jargon, that bullshit, if you will, that you hear repeated over in your head, it's not even going to be relevant to you anymore. So immediately your stress goes away, your ease with money, you're vibrating at a different frequency. And this is where I'm talking about the energy of money. This is very apparent. You walk into a room. If you walk into a room and someone, and let's say you walk in and you're angry, people aren't going to engage with you. They're not going to do business with you, right? Like, our energy is everything. And we don't realize we're carrying this energy of money that is based on our previous conditioning, and it's been normalized. So we think we're the nicest person in the room. We're so open and wonderful, but everybody else is picking up on all of your energetic kind of inconsistency, I'll say. When you clean that up, everything in your life will change and more money will come into your life. It happens every time.
Interesting. Yeah. So can we drill down a little bit on that? I mean, without naming people, but just sort of give me a almost like a case study of somebody who came in perhaps vibrating this rather negative energy about money, and through a process of asking questions and finding out more about this person's life and attitudes and maybe any kind of bias, you somehow managed to address those issues and guide them towards something more, as you say, balanced and in tune with the world.
Yeah. Well, okay, so what comes up would be, and I would say none of this is like good, bad, negative, positive. I think all of us have money beliefs. We all, because we all have our upper limit, right? I have money beliefs too. Obviously, we're all just kind of bumping up against our own conditioning. We're trying to expand beyond our own consciousness. So an example that comes up would be, um, I had a student who she would go out and she would get these, and she's in the film industry, and she would go out and she would get these really amazing contracts, and she'd be so excited, and the initial connection was all on the art and the creativity and the relationship, and everybody's excited. Well, then of course what happens? Then you have to go to the money side. Well, then even if you stumble your way through that, someone's happy and someone's not. Let's say you get through it. Well, what was happening to her is then there was always problems with the invoicing. Either it wasn't right for her or it wasn't right for them or da da da. So you could see this, like you can see your own money cycles if you're really interested in looking at it, right? These things, they happen over and over. It's just that they happen in different forms. So what we had to do with her is really depersonalize the experience, because the spiritual aspect of money is how can you step back and be the observer. I think that's why people get so um, emotional. And I would say even the day trading, because obviously I worked on a trading floor too. I know the exact mentality we're talking about here. It's the personalization of it. It's the results. It's the I have to do this, or I'm wrong. I didn't get this. I missed this, right? So anything like this, you bring it back, you zoom back, you depersonalize it, you become the observer of it. Then what she was seeing is her own responsibility, in that she was actually putting that kind of money energy out there that was causing them to react to. When you start to do that, you can see that all of this is just simply relationships, conversation, energy. And the more that you can merge the circumstantial situation that's going on in the 3D world, the more you can merge it with that, the more effortless your life becomes.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, do you think she was giving off an energy that then created a kind of almost like a how would you put it? Almost like a discordant atmosphere within the project in a way that she came across as being sort of not in tune with the money side of things and therefore looked perhaps insecure with the various people she was working with. I mean, because they do talk about this kind of money bias that you've had experiences of money and pretty much I'm, in film and I had only this week I had an entire feature film flop, in terms of finance. It was all there, millions, and now it's gone. So it happens. It wasn't me dealing with the money, but I'm sure I carry a lot of that kind of what you're talking about, this kind of disappointment of being about to go with projects.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's working fine, and then nothing. Or, the person who was going to deliver has messed you around. They've gone bankrupt. They don't want the project, or the other person you're working with, all sorts of reasons. And maybe as a film director and a writer, I wouldn't personally very often have much to do with the financier, maybe tangentially, but nonetheless, I'm carrying this kind of history, if you will, of sort of these
Mm-hmm.
monetary disappointments. And maybe when I carry that over, as you're saying, I meet another producer and I'm sort of carrying this history with me, whether I like it or not,
Mm-hmm.
of, and I've often thought about this and wondered how the hell do you get rid of that? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
just this baggage you've collected. So you're kind of, I presume that's part of your job to get rid of that kind of negative that the
Mhm.
sort of baggage in a way that you carry around if you've had disappointments, whether it's film business or you've invested in real estate, whatever it is. If you've had a series of disappointments, people letting you down and what have you, those
Yes.
need to be somehow taken away. You need to somehow divest yourself of those, I guess.
Yes, yes, it's kind of a cleaning up effect. So I help
Yeah.
people clean up their connections, their previous connections with money so that they can go in more cleanly. Cuz imagine, we always say, "Oh, that like excitement we had when we were 20 and like we were unstoppable." Well, half that is because we didn't have 55 experiences of failing before us, right? And we're all glad of our failures. We don't have you don't have to regret anything, but it's like being able is such a powerful way of being if you can go into that as its own solo experience. But in order to do that, though, you have to be able to show up in a way, and this is, by the way, why wealthy people get wealthier, because wealthy people can get wealthier because they're not going into it needing as much. And so, and when I say needing as much, it can be money, it can be needing the accolades, it can be needing the excitement, it can be needing the, oh my God, here's my finally, I've made it with a film. It can be any of these things. It's like the more you can clean that up, then the more you're going to be an open conduit. I call it a money conduit. The more you're going to be a money conduit because money, the frequency of money is actually love, trust, all of these things, these good things we like to feel. But when you're not in that frequency, like we don't give people money that we don't trust. And if you're going into a situation with the experience of having maybe something went a little sideways in the film before, it's not that you're not trusting the people, you're not trusting the process anymore. And you're carrying that with you.
Yeah, interesting. So you said we've got to clean this up. How do you do that? What is your process, for cleaning up? Where would you start? Where would you start with me, for example?
Well, I think the first thing is that we have to realize that money is not something that you do. Money is actually a practice. Uh, Handling money in a way that is sort of free flow. I'm saying like money is coming to you on an ongoing basis without you actually putting out a lot of what you would consider work. There's a strategy behind it, and I mean, multiple channels. Of course, open yourself to more channels of this. But another aspect of this is when it comes to cleaning this up is being able to do something completely different than you've ever done with money at that point where you feel the most unsafe.
Such as,
Well, okay, investing is a really easy one to use as an example. So many people come into the spiritual investor program really afraid of investing. I mean, I've got to give it to them. They join an investing program afraid of investing, right? That's a brave thing that they just did, and I very much honor that. So when they come in, I'm not going to bombard them with all of the terms that they have been scared to death of. Like some people don't know what an ETF is. That doesn't matter. That doesn't make them better than or worse or less smart or whatever. Who cares? I'm not going to bombard them with the pressure that you need to invest. I'm not going to put the pressure on them till this is what you need to do with returns, all that, because that's why they haven't done it before. It's start where you are now. You did the best job that you possibly could have. Like, how are we actually going to get you to drop into who you truly are, the reason that you're here in the world? What would you do in the world if there was no money? Like, who is that version of you? Start with that and then build from there and just go up from there, up from there, up from there. And it's a practice. And when I say it's a practice, so um I do a lot of live coaching and workshops, so it's being able to for them to bring real circumstances in, and then I'm asking them questions that are strategically peeling back the layers, so they're like, wait, I wouldn't have seen that. Then what happens is they go out into the world, they practice that for 7 days, they come back in, right? What happens is they end up investing and going, wow, why did I wait a decade to do that? It was the easiest thing I've ever done. I mean, how easy is it to go on E-Trade or whatever and buy SPY, right? So, but to some people that is monumental.
Real quick, what do you do in terms of boosting your energy when the day is going a bit against you, or even if it's going in your favor and you want to maximize your performance? Is it tea, coffee, chocolate, combination of those snacks? Do you sometimes regret taking all that stuff and feel, oh, I'm getting a little bit anxious now, or just feeling a bit shitty because too much sugar? Well, I came across this drink. It's basically a shot. Everything in it is aimed at improving your mental performance without the downside of the crash or the spike that comes with the other stuff that we normally have when we're feeling a little bit flat. Magic Mind is a shot that is this big, really small, and you just knock it back in 1 or 2 and you're kind of good to go. And it sustains your energy and improves your mental performance for the next 4 to 5 hours. It contains matcha, which you'll find in green tea. It reduces stress, it's an antioxidant. It's also got mushroom compounds in there that boost mental performance. Vitamin B compounds, which do the same in a different way. And bacopa, again, another mental performance enhancer. The taste is, I would say, like passion fruit, but not sweet. So that's good. I don't like sweet stuff. You can find the drink through my link at a nice big discount by going to magicmind.com/atraderslife. Enter Trader20 and that will give you 56% off a subscription, 20% off a one-time purchase. If you don't like it, you can write in and they'll give you your money back. Personally, I think it's a winner. Instead of getting junked up on rubbish or a little bit anxious from yet another cup of coffee, this gives me a smooth ride up. Okay, that's it. Back to the show. I'm just a bit more curious about the actual process. I mean, are you, for example, asking them what are your interests? I mean, it might be, they're into the whole renewable energy kind of thing, or they might be into animals, any number of things. But is that the kind of thing you're trying to tap into? Their actual, so that they invest not just sort of intellectually because it's a good investment, but also something of their heart, something that they care about. Is that
Hmm.
part of your process?
Well, most people know that when they come in, so I might ask that, but that's not my ultimate driving factor. Most people, when they join the program, they're at a place where they're already doing what they want, or they kind of know they're just not doing it very well. They want better results. They want to be more efficient. Like they know that they're supposed to be doing what they're doing, but they're getting frustrated because either the techniques they're trying are just not giving them the results that they want. It could be a sales and marketing thing. It could be anything. We do have people come into the program who do love day trading, and they do that. They don't come into the program so they can learn more about day trading. They come into the program so that they can actually learn how to drop into themselves, be in ease, and not have so much stress in their life. So it is it's creating an entirely new world with money, a new way of thinking about it, a new way of being. So let's say, for example, let's say let's say that typically you look at your money once a week, right? And you do money management once a week, and that's something that you're fine with, but you've been doing that over and over again. Well, I'm more interested in what can you do differently, because clearly that's not wrong, but you're not getting the results. How can I help you step beyond the consciousness level that you are now, because we're all operating at our whatever it's in our consciousness now is what we're creating more of. So I'll give you there is a quote by, do you know who Neville Goddard is?
Don't think so. No.
Yeah, so he was back in the 1930s, and he was from Barbados. And um, it's one of the things that he said was, poor people pray for riches and they get more of being poor. Well, the reason is because we always get what we ask for, and what's in their consciousness is being poor. Every day They walk into the room and they're reminded that they're poor. Their conversations are about being poor. Their relationships or their whole life is structured around being poor. That's their consciousness. That's the frequency they're putting out into the world. When you change that, you change your consciousness, then what you're going to get in return is going to be more of what you want. And so I'd say that's a global thing. When you can drop that down and you can apply that to people's actual habits. I mean, I know people that do look at their money every single day very diligently and they never get any more money. I know people that don't look at their money at all and they're multimillionaires. So it's like, what are you doing that you need to break out of that you don't realize is keeping you stuck? It's probably not that you need to go out there and learn more. It's probably that you need to clean up where you are.
Yeah. So comparing like for like with somebody who's struggled with money
Hmm.
and has, I don't know, 100, let's just say 50K to play with, investing, compared to somebody who's kind of more comfortable. What do you, if you, as I said, comparing like for like, but one person is kind of struggling and the other person's a bit more at ease, and they both want to improve on their situation, but you notice one is a bit more, you know, just having a history of difficulty with their investments and their money and their career and so on. So
Hmm.
what is it you do to adjust the one who is in this kind of possibly a catch-22 cycle, that you get this feeling about money because that's all you've known. So how do you get out of that? How do you look as if you're relaxed and easy with money if all you've known is this cycle of, disappointment, things going wrong? How do you kind of get out of that loop, almost like a
Mm.
doom loop?
Yeah, and it's such a great question too. So I call it breaking the structure. And so let's just take the person that has $50,000 to invest, and let's say they've done okay, and they kind of want to do better, right? Um, Typically there is a fear hiding there. People are either going to be not investing what they could be investing. A lot of times in that situation, people can also be only looking at their money in terms of what they have now. Like people can get really, really and not realize it. They can go years pretty much only looking at, I have this amount of money and I have to maximize this, not knowing that that is what's in your consciousness. And that is exactly the same thing as saying, that's all the money I want.
Hmm. Hadn't thought of it like that.
Yeah. And when you start to go, wait, 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 and you step back, then you go, wait, how am I applying that in my life? And then, because the best answers come from you, I'm literally a guide here. Then, what that allows you to do is go, well, shit, what am I saying to myself when I get up and I'm having breakfast? Because that's creating that is, it's a reflection of your consciousness, which is creating your world. So instead of you thinking that same thing you think at breakfast, a better question that you could ask yourself to break beyond your consciousness would be, knowing that I am creating this my world in this moment, what would I do right now that's different? That is a powerful place to live from.
That's different.
It's very
Okay.
different. Yeah.
Okay, but even if you're going to make the choice to do something different, what if you carry the same kind of anxiety into this different occupation or different, pursuit?
You can't carry anxiety into something that's truly new, because if it's truly new, you can't drag your own experiences into it.
Okay, that's interesting. So, can you give me an example of where somebody's come to you in one frame of mind about money and the investments they've done so far, and you've introduced that person to something really quite new and you've noticed a change?
Okay, so they've come into it and they're already investing, you're saying, and they're doing well. So
Maybe not much in the way of investing, but they've done some.
what are they wanting to do?
Well, they perhaps don't know really what they want to do, but they feel somewhat conflicted about money and how to invest. So this is the negative thing we're talking about. How do we get them out of that kind of bad history, and you say, well, I introduce them to something new. I don't mean just investment, from one person who's never invested to somebody who's invested for the first time. I mean, people more like, who've done a bit of something. Maybe they're day trading. Like you said, you have some people who are day trading. So what do you introduce these people to when you said you're looking for something, giving them something new to pursue so that kind of, as it were, distracts them from their previous bad experiences.
Hmm.
So can you give me an example of how that's worked?
Well, I think you hit it on the head at the very beginning of what you said, because you said they don't know what they want to do. So if they don't know what they want to do, then that's my starting point, because I will never ever come in and tell someone, here's what you need to do. In fact, when I was sitting and when I decided I was going to when I said I teach money my way was not telling people what the financial industry needs them to do, right? So the first thing would be, if they don't know what they want, then that is a 100% indication that what they're doing is they're just going out into the world and they're spending all their time during the day reacting to circumstances. So they're looking. If you don't know what you want, then the only way, because we're taking in things in as this human being that we are, then what you're doing is you're saying, okay, world, you tell me what to do, because I'll react to you. And you're just creating over and over again the same thing that you already had. So that would be the first thing. You have to know what you want to do. And you have to not, and when I say know what you want to do, people get really messed up when they think of like goals and what do I want to do and stuff like this, because oftentimes they are choosing what they want to do from what they think they can do. Another big no-no, because um, if you're not choosing what you want to do from the most free, open place, you're creating a life that has no sustainability. And when you have no sustainability, there's always something for you to do. And when there's always something for you to do, you have to trade your energetic currency in order to get whatever kind of abundance it is in your life, whether it's love, money, whatever. There's always an obligation, and that's that heaviness that you're going to feel, and that's that exhaustion that you're going to feel. So does this make sense? I'm getting them to look at this from a full responsibility of, you were brought here in the world as a powerful human being. You need to step up and say, what do you want to do? And you need to step up in a powerful way. And then you reverse engineer into that. Forget the world.
Okay, right. Interesting. So let's just say you're talking to a filmmaker.
Hmm.
They've made some money, they're doing okay in their career, but they've hit a point where obviously they're talking to you because they want something different. So their main passion is filmmaking, but it's often frustrating and stuck. So what do you do then to guide them into something that maybe is a kind of refresher for them in their purpose and their sense of direction in life? What is your process, as it were, for that?
I think in that case, I would be very, very interested in why they want to make films. And I would also be very interested in, are they at a stage, again, not any right or wrong here, this is just where's the throughput. um, are they at a stage where the making of the film is also part and parcel to their own financial survival, because that puts you in a different category.
Okay. Yeah.
That's where I would start, because honestly, if you don't start with the real questions, then all you're doing is just wasting your time and everybody else's time. And time is so precious right now in this world. Like, we're the youngest we'll ever be. Like, we're the most powerful we'll ever be because of the wisdom that we have now. The world is, everything happens in the now. The more power that we can bring to the now, the bigger our life is going to be. And so, as a child, I was always fascinated by, I could not figure out why people would walk in the room and they would say the same thing over and over. They would say, "Hi, how are you?" Or "How's your mom?" Or da da da, right? I grew up in the South. I was fascinated as a child, because I'm like, why would they waste their energy doing that? And so my entire life here has just been a reflection of we have to go deeper than we've ever gone in every moment. And in order to do that, though, we have to admit that right now, most people are exhausted and they don't have the mental space for it.
That's very true, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, that is the conflict. People do really need to go deeper, but most of us, according to what you read, have an attention span of 7 seconds or something stupid like that. Hardly anyone reads a novel anymore because,
Yeah.
it's easier just to watch Netflix, and you probably don't even watch all of that. You watch the first 15 minutes and then you're on your smartphone or whatever it is.
Exactly.
It's very difficult, isn't it? That, we want, in this age of connection and speed, we are paradoxically less connected in
Yes.
a deep way. You know,
Exactly.
um, we see
Yeah.
it on dating apps, we see it on reading, whatever it is. There's this. We all have loads of friends, but they're not really friends.
Yes.
Yeah, so I guess that's kind of your job, is to part of it anyway, is to slow things down for people. You have an hour or whatever it is, you have a session with somebody, and you get them to slow down and kind of go in on themselves a bit more, because we need that in order to deal with money more sensibly and in a way that benefits us, not just in terms of a bank balance, but also, as you say, spiritually, kind of that emotional feeling about money and how you can
Mhm.
deal with it and what have you.
Exactly. We all make our best decisions when we're not stuck in our emotions.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, trading is a classic. I mean,
Yeah.
when it's taken me you think, surely this shouldn't take so long, but it's taken me 3 years to kind of just shut down all those emotions that come up with every loss or mistake or missed opportunity. It's not always a mistake in terms of losing money. Sometimes it's a mistake, you didn't take that trade. You hesitated, and now it's gone, and it's you missed the train, kind of thing. And I found, when I was dealing with it, I had to shut down all the emotions. So you have a good trade, move on. Have a bad trade, learn your mistake, move on. You missed a trade, doesn't matter, move on. And it for me anyway, it had to be a very conscious, almost like a shutting of the door. It became almost like an image in my head.
Hmm.
Shut the door, and it was actually, being perhaps because I'm a filmmaker, that image of shutting a door really
Yeah.
helped kind of go, that's it, move on. And it started to help me achieve more consistency.
Oh,
It
yeah. Great.
really is very important to be able to do that, isn't it?
Yes, because money follows energetic consistency. Yes, that is the language of money, is
It is,
energetic
isn't it? Yeah.
consistency. Yes,
It's
it is.
somehow being able to divorce yourself very quickly from it
Hmm.
in terms of your emotion. It's not about, oh, you idiot, you missed out on that, or you lost something here. Oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. The way, as a new trader, you beat yourself up consistently. You know,
Hmm.
um, I don't know if you did, because you had a job where you got a salary, so it's slightly different, but it's much harder, of course, if you're using your own money at home.
My hat's off to day traders who are using their own money and doing. I mean, I was very shielded from that. Like you say, I had a salary, and then I had a bonus once a year, which was definitely based on performance. But even we were trading. It was a lot of bilateral contracts, so we were going out and we were selling it, and we were fulfilling orders that we've already sold. And so, yeah, we had like certain thresholds that we could do with the portfolio. We'd be long and short at certain times with the overall portfolio, but that was a certain tolerance range, and that wasn't going to lose or break me or the company, right? So it was a great way to learn and to experience and be in the world of trading. But I think at that time I was more dealing with my own emotions of, I felt like there was a part of me that was like dying because I was going into a corporate type environment, and every time it was a high security. You had to have your badge, and every time I went up the elevator to the fifth floor, I felt like I had to check who I was, at the bottom. That was more of my turmoil. And I remember I saw this guy. He was the guy who originally hired me, but then he, we'd gone different directions. But I saw him get up from his computer one day, and it was like a movie. It was like slow motion. This was a pivotal moment. And he got up from his computer, and he was really into cycling. So he was really fit. He was probably 15 years older than me. And he got up and he walked to the printer. And he's such a great guy, but he looked so worn out. He looked so just old and deflated and miserable. And I knew in that moment, it wasn't judging him, it was all about me. I was like, holy shit, I just saw my future flash before my eyes. And I knew, I was like, I have to create. That's what I've always done. I have to create what I want, create what I want. Don't be sitting here in 15 years looking back on that and going, oh, I was given the answer. We are so, so powerful. But when we get caught in our emotions and we let the exhaustion, we're giving away our energetic currency right now to exhaustion, to what other people think, to results that we put on ourselves that don't even mean anything. Do you know how many people come into the program and they're like, well, I'm really uncomfortable because my account has gone now below what I'm comfortable with. And I'm like, when did you decide that number? Where did you decide that number? Where did that come from? You're spending your whole life bumping up against a metric that you don't even understand. It's
It's
fascinating.
crazy how we become so conditioned to
Yes.
these kind of imprisoning mindsets, really, isn't it?
We
Yeah.
just, and you know what we want? We all want the same thing. We all want the exact same thing. And I have proven this over and over again because when I get on live calls, and sometimes some of these workshops I have will have 500 people in them, I'm like, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? My team they'll copy the chat and we'll go through it. Same version of it. Everybody is looking for freedom. We just want to be free. Money gives us that, but we have to give ourselves that first.
Do you, when you teach, your students, do you ask for somebody to come in with a certain amount? I mean, obviously they pay to join your course, but do they have to have, say, 20K or 30K or?
Nope, they don't have to have a certain amount. In fact, when you come in, you're usually going to be a little bit more efficient with your money. That's what we find because you're actually focused on it a little bit more. So most of the time, people come in and they end up finding even what they need to pay for because it's $222 and it's 12 months. After that, you're just in the program for life. You just can keep coming to all the calls and everything. Most of the time, people are going to find that when they come in and then they're able to then, like, I've had people that have gone through the program 8 times because they say, I go through it, I go live life, I come back, I get something different, I come back, I get something different. And it's a solid community as well, so it's a place, to kind of get to see what other people are doing. But once you start focusing on that, and the money management aspect too, I don't like budgets, I don't like lack, I don't do anything based on lack. Your money management should be based on um, intention, excitement, inspiration. Like every dollar we get is a gift. Like somebody in a third world country right now is working for $1 a day. It's a gift. And so, how do we bring that into it? Because that's putting us automatically, that's easy stuff, putting us automatically on that higher frequency. People feel better about their money. People, relationships improve. I hear this all the time. I speak to my kids differently. My husband and we're on the same page now, or what, or because a lot of women want to actually do more with money and they're afraid. And a lot of men want to do different things with money, but they're also afraid because they're afraid they're going to fail.
Yeah, and what is the fear of failure? Is it not having enough money and therefore, uh, you know, risking homelessness, for example, or is it more a fear of failure within their, like an ego thing, sort of, or a shame thing within their family? I tried this and I failed, and now my family think I'm a loser. That kind of.
It is. It's an ego thing, but it's an ego thing for women too, because they want to be seen. Whether and they could, this is same sex or heteros, it doesn't matter, right? They want to be seen by their partner as being okay. I'm doing this. I'm helping us. I'm contributing, right? Everybody wants to contribute, protect, show love, and so if we don't, if we fail at something, then it's going to be our ego. everybody's bumping up against their own attachment. And there's no right or wrong with an attachment. There's no right or wrong. Women aren't doing it any right or wrong, and men aren't either. It's just, I don't really care. I only care about uncover your attachment and then go deeper.
When you say attachment, do you mean your partner or something, or something else?
Attachment to the result.
Okay.
Attachment to the result. Attachment to being able, to being able to do something in a certain amount of time. Time is a money block, massive money
Yeah,
block.
it's just an interesting thing, isn't it? Because I've had
Mhm.
this discussion with a few traders about goals. I think personally, I know a lot of people say, "Oh, have your goals. This is part of your plan." But actually, I think goals can be very destructive because, especially in trading, because it's not a mathematical certainty. You can't go, right, well, this is the graph and my account's just going to go up like this. Forget it. It's not going to happen. And I think you put this awful pressure on yourself. And then, of course, when it doesn't happen, you feel this immense sense of failure and, shame even. So, goals to a certain extent, you need something there, but it's not, I don't think it should be, like you say, metrics. It shouldn't really be that. If you want to be reasonably happy and healthy in life, I think it's too much pressure, stress.
It's too much pressure. I mean, feel what you're going to feel when you get the money rather than focusing on the money. And that's another reason, like, you don't have to have a certain amount of money to start investing. I mean, you know this. I mean, there are plenty of stocks out there that are less than $50 that, even paying a dividend, like, you're still an investor, and that's part of it, is just them stepping into the identity finally that they're an investor. And that seems small, but it's really big for people.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, cool. And so, your course is entirely virtual, or do you occasionally? I know you're out in Tennessee, so it's, you can't see everyone, but do you occasionally get together one to one?
I do. We've been doing some in person events. So we're starting to do more of those. I was just in Los Angeles. I had a 3 day event there, so people can come and join that. Um, I've got, my team and I were kind of narrowing down. We're looking at Bali, New York. I'm going to do a scout location when I'm in Spain in June, and in California. So yeah, it's I love the in person, element of it, and so we always invite people that are already in the program. We always invite them first because obviously it's like a certain limited number of people that can come to be in there in person. Yeah, so it's it's whatever people feel like they need. I feel like everyone can go deeper on this, and so whether it's me or whoever it is, like, find someone that you resonate with that's going to challenge you to do something different with your money, whoever it is, and it's you. I know that you're influencing so many people with this podcast, absolutely incredible, because I think that's what you're doing too, is you're causing them to kind of see that there is another option out there besides sitting at the desk and stressing about it.
Yeah, that's very important. I mean, you can do a bit of that for a year or two, and then you got to say, well, either it's not for me, or I've just somehow got to pull back from this huge pressure I'm putting on myself.
Yeah.
um, and both for your health, but also for the results, as you say. If you carry this anxiety to everything, every time you open your computer and look at your charts, you're just going to mess it up again.
Yeah.
Good week, then a bad week, good week, bad week, round and round, like an idiot.
Yeah.
No
Yeah,
thanks to
exactly.
anyone, but yeah.
It's a vibe, right? We all just have to get into our natural vibe. Like, I don't know if you've heard that example. Like, I'll just tell you this really quick. The example of the guy at the bar, right? So the guy at the bar, who he sees the girl sitting there, and he goes up and he's like, "Can I buy you a drink? Can I buy you a drink? Can I buy you a drink?" Right? She's like, "Oh God, whatever." And then there's the other guy who goes up and he just looks at the girl and then he just waves to the bartender, "I'll have what she's having." Different vibe. Go with that with your money. Go with that.
Okay, interesting. Right.
Yeah, love it.
Cool. Elizabeth, I think we'll end on that note. It's been
Yeah,
great talking to you.
you too. You too. Amazing. Thank you so much for this.
Great. All the best.
You too.